Good evening. Welcome to the July meeting of the Cumberland County Commissioners. I'm Neil Jamison, the chair. For those of us who would like to join us, we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Entertain a motion to accept our minutes from June.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Matter carries 5-0. Our next item on our agenda is an informational report and presentation on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Jim?
Thank you. If it's all right, Chair, I would like to ask Sheriff Joyce, give Sheriff Joyce the opportunity to introduce some of our newer captains down the LEC and the jail, and give him the opportunity before we go into the DEI presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Caught me off guard a little bit.
Sorry about that, Sheriff.
Yeah, no worries. You read my mind. First, I want to introduce Captain Brian Ackerman, who's the new CID captain. Captain Ackerman started in 1994, so he's got almost 30 years in. He started as a corrections officer and then transferred over as a patrol deputy. Worked as a patrol deputy. He was also the tactical team commander for a while. Really knows his tactics well, so we had a lot of pride in having him be the tactical team commander. He worked for DEA for a while. He went to, obviously, CID. He's one of two in the state, the other one being his partner, Keith Cook, that are certified as evidence processors, the highest certification that you can get. We sent him down to Knoxville for that. He was on the Honor Guard. He was one of the lead people on the Honor Guard until he got off the Honor Guard, people that looked up to him and stuff. So we're happy to have him as the CID captain, and he's been thrown into the fire, and I think his honeymoon's just about over with what happened last week, although he was away, but he picked up the pieces when he got back. So we're pleased to have Captain Ackerman aboard as the CID captain. Behind me is Captain Eric Frigon. Eric started in 1997, so that's about 26 years of experience. He started as a corrections officer. He worked in patrol for a while. Went back to corrections. He's worked in intake most recently. Well, then he was in transports, and then he was promoted to sergeant a couple years ago. And again, got a lot of historical knowledge of the jail, kind of the inner workings of what goes on there, and he's got a good working relationship with the staff he works with. So for a short period of time as a sergeant, he was very well respected by the staff, and I think they're very happy to see him roll on to being the corrections captain for programs and support. So those are the two new promotions.
Thank you, Sheriff. And congratulations, gentlemen. We appreciate all your hard work and service.
Great, thank you for the opportunity for that. This evening we have the consultants, Dr. Karen Dowling and Dr. Keith Brooks from Optiplyde, joining us this evening. Optiplyde, over the last 6 months, has been working with county staff on the development of a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. This plan is funded through ARPA. It is really what got the whole process kick-started because ARPA is centered around equity within its policymaking. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic brought a lot of social and racial injustice and inequity to the forefront in public health. And a DEI policy is implemented in an organization like ours to foster a more inclusive and equitable work environment. It recognizes and values the unique perspectives, experiences, and backgrounds of individuals within a diverse workforce. A few reasons why the county went and explored a DEI policy over and above a requirement of ARPA. One, it promotes fairness and equity within our workforce. It attracts and retains talented employees. Enhancing employee engagement and morale. Meeting legal, federal, state grant, and ethical obligations. And lastly, addressing societal changes. This type of study is on the forefront of many organizations, both private sector and government sector, to accomplish and to fully implement. It's important to note that a DEI policy is just the starting point that you'll see this evening. The county will need to back this document up with concrete actions such as inclusive hiring practices, diverse representation at all levels, ongoing training and education, and creating a supportive and inclusive workplace culture. Regular evaluations and monitoring of this policy and its effectiveness are also crucial to ensure continuous improvements. So this document is one that we can't put all this effort into and then let collect dust. It's going to be something that we look at on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis and see how we can fine-tune this document. But this evening, we're going to hear how the plan, which is the structure of our next steps as staff, will be working to, in a sense, build the house on top of the foundation. And this plan will create a strong foundation for staff to go by. And I'd like to invite both Dr. Dowling and Dr. Brooks up to take us through a number of slides to talk about this plan and how we're going to develop the structure to move on from.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for your time this evening. Again, I'm Keith Brooks, and this is Dr. Karen Dowling. I flew in from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Karen flew in from Muncie, Indiana today. We're representing, as was stated, Optiply, a firm that basically invests in people. Specifically, we focus on technology, enterprise, and the topic that we're talking about today, professional services and professional development. And for some of you, we're glad to be back with you. We appreciate the kind way the County Sheriff's Department and the County Administration have welcomed us a few months ago, and glad to see the positive collaboration that has already taken place.
So we want to talk about what is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I know that we've heard these terms, but I want to clarify a couple things, 2 points of clarification. Often, you will hear us refer to this as the work. And that is because that's what DEI work is it's everybody collaborating together to make this effort happen. And also then, we will be referring to diversity, equity, and inclusion often as DEI. It might be obvious, but we wanted to make sure. So you have definitions here, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's because the reason we're doing this is that employees are your most valuable assets in Cumberland County. So we want to honor and respect those differences of not only those that are your employees, but also those you serve. Diversity is talking not just about the human differences of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic status, but it also encompasses background experiences, lived experiences, generations, age, differently abled. So that's in that definition. Equity is about ensuring fair treatment for all so they have access to resources needed to be successful. And you'll hear me say over and over, we want Cumberland County and to continue being a thriving organization. And so that's where equity would come in. And then the intentional practice of including everyone and accommodating those who might possibly experience exclusion would be where inclusion comes in. And the key word there is intentional and not reactive and responsive, but we're being proactive and intentional in the DEI effort.
And we thank you again for your patience as we go through this presentation. It's going to be a lot of information, but one of the great places that we wanted to start with is just applaud and honor the fact that Cumberland County has a mission and a vision. For many organizations, that's foundational and step one. Some organizations hesitate to move forward because they don't want to make mistakes. But the vision and the mission statements are a testament to recognizing that living in community is very challenging, but worth the effort to develop and maintain positive relationships.
And thank you, Jim. You talked about some of the benefits of this kind of work. We know that people matter and are the drivers of our success. We also want to say, what's the rationale, what's the why behind DEI work for Cumberland County? And there is a changing landscape of Cumberland County as one of the rationale reasons. Great people and efforts have occurred here in Cumberland County thus far, but you are taking a more proactive approach with this strategic plan. And you are taking the approach of being active, or you are seeing, active, consistent, and significant growth in population. And then 10% of this growth in population, the people are from other countries, international, new citizens settling in the area. So that's one of the foundational reasons why there's a changing landscape here. Also, there are challenges in growth that are not without resistance and conflict. Hate crimes are increased. It is important also for Cumberland County government workforce to act as a microcosm of the communities it serves, and also for recruitment and retention. And finally, the nature of the work is changing. Ideals, values, cultural understandings are changing, so we need to understand the lay of the land. OptApplied is here with this plan to help Cumberland County leaders, with your input from all of the research, contextualize issues unique to your setting and your challenges, and also to achieve equity intentionally and proactively, like I said, knowing that recruitment and retention are part of what we heard our needs from the focus groups, and that representation matters, seeing oneself at a table, hearing the voice, having the perspective valued goes a long way, and that innovation is possible with more perspectives. So you have diversity, equity, and inclusion, a policy that was referred to previously, and I want to applaud you also that the wording that you have in there, respectful communication. We know communication is key and it can hinder progress in an organization as well. Teamwork and employee participation, that is throughout this strategic plan. Work-life balance for your employees, and then contributions to the communities, considering not only your employees that you work with, but also those that you serve. And often in our DEI work, we're talking about the responsibility to treat others with dignity and respect, and you do that with keeping people safe and working for the people of your community. So you're obviously already looking at equitable practices. I know from our focus groups you're concerned about talent development and pipelines. So a thriving workplace depends on all knowing this and working towards this together, and holding team members accountable. So that will be part of this strategic plan. Diversity work is everyone's work, and it's actions, not just words, a plan on a shelf collecting dust, but rather actions that are shared, foundational, and consistent with common language.
So now we're going into the heart of the plan and talking about the 3 pillars. These were themes of DEI-specific workforce development that were prevalent in the written and the oral feedback from the data that was collected. Cumberland County employees simultaneously affirmed the following 3 areas, amongst others. 1, meaningful improvement in diversity representation and introductory training around DEI concepts. Secondly, overall employee engagement. And thirdly, representing the broader community that you serve. And so these 3 pillars cover a lot of ground, and they strengthen the foundation of efforts that have already started and taken place. The extended report that you receive goes into more detail as well. So now we're getting ready to go a little bit deeper into the 3 pillars from a high level. Pillar 1, valuing DEI throughout the Cumberland County government workforce. And for goal number 1, simply put, Optaply believes in leading by example and modeling the expected behavior that encourages Cumberland County employees to be engaged in this work. Leadership, whether as supervisors, managers, they set the tone for how you desire to interact with each other.
For goal 2 of Pillar 1, the strategies and actions include shared language, so we are all on the same page, using the policy language that you already have consistently and as foundational for our communications and our understandings. There will be development of a public language guide to help with common understandings. This is key for communications of the work and also for Cumberland County employees' understandings of purpose and implementation of the DEI strategic plan.
And the third goal, consistent with your current practices of continuous improvement, having a culture of learning and curiosity fosters creativity and a growth mindset. Here we recommend regular DEI-informed professional development and discussion prompts to ensure that we are communicating in a way that is rooted in reflection and advancing the mission.
For Pillar 2, it says building our capacity for advancing DEI initiatives within the Cumberland County government. The goal 1, strategies and actions, is building capacity for this work, including DEI directors group that will guide the strategies. This DEI directors group will conduct regular reporting, oversee budget management for the 3-year plan, and provide consistent accountability.
And goal number 2, in brief, our suggestion is for Cumberland County to integrate the DEI strategic plan with the Cumberland County overall strategic plan to ensure a unified effort. This goal encourages reflection on inclusive employment approaches throughout the Cumberland County government and recognize exemplary work.
Optapplied believes DEI work is continuous learning as we lead together. Cultural work is just that. It's thinking with a growth mindset and cultural humility. And cultural humility is about the work being ongoing, and you're continuously learning and learning from one another. It's not completed. It's like a ... What's coming next, not a period at the end. We also are, in this goal, looking at continuous training for hiring managers, so that you can infiltrate the organization from the beginning with the hiring. Also, hiring innovatively and well. And also to customize learning development included. We have customized learning development included for various departments because the work and the clients are different in the different areas of the organization. So customization will be key in that area.
So we're on the last pillar here. Again, thank you for bearing with us. Pillar 3, intentionally engaging the Cumberland County community. With goal 1 specifically, our recommendation here is to revisit our supplier diversity efforts and how we engage a multitude of vendors. In addition, identify what authentic engagement with diverse and underrepresented populations means to us, and also how we go about that.
Again, as communication is key, for goal 2, we're looking at external communication processes. How do we share news and illustrate the value of the DEI efforts? Communication will be key to demonstrating transparency of this process, authenticity, proactive engagement, and intentionality of the work.
So this evening, we have shared with you a high-level overview of what has transpired over the past few months, which Jim talked about earlier. In the extended report, you will find additional details, rationale, explanations for anything that we've shared this evening. Again, these are recommendations to Cumberland County after extensive collaboration and conversation and feedback from Cumberland County employees, leadership, survey, and focus groups. And you can see the recommended timeline over the next 3 years on the screen and in the report.
We want to thank you for taking the time to hear us tonight. We want to also thank you for all of the teamwork and efforts as we were collecting our data and reviewing our data and meeting with people. And it's just been a delightful experience for us. We learned a lot about your organization, and we hope that you will get a lot out of this DEI strategic plan.
So we'll,
Thank you.
thank you. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? We appreciate all your efforts through this process and your detailed report, and I'm sure it will result in positive changes in our culture and the way we do business. So thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I'll just remind the commissioners that in our most recent strategic planning exercise in the last 2 months, this was one of the top items that was brought forth as a initiative for us to tackle over the next 3 to 5 years. So we have that as a goal, and one that probably, once we get towards the tail end of the summer into Labor Day, we'll start working on this so that we can start rolling things out come January 1st of their timeline. And so we're looking forward to this, and there's going to be a lot of work ahead of us, but I think staff's up for it. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you again.
Next item on our agenda are comments from the public. Do we have any comments from the public this evening? Seeing none, we'll move forward to the consent agenda.
Move passage.
Do we have a second? It's been moved and seconded to pass a consent agenda. Items 23058, 23059, 23060, and 23061. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call the vote. All those in favor of the consent agenda items, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Consent agenda passes 5-0. Our next item of business is ARPA business. And item 23062, the approval of adjustments to our ARPA budget. County Manager Gailey.
Thank you. Staff's bringing forward yet another amendment to the ARPA budget. With ARPA and the COVID money being on the forefront of conversations down in Washington, it's our feeling that the need to obligate all this funding on projects is necessary, and to get legislative approval along the way. And so this is something, I think this is the second time in 3 months that you've seen this budget come back before you with some tweaks in it. And that's our reason why, is that we constantly want to fine tune this budget. Some projects need a little bit more money, some projects are languishing, and we feel as though maybe they shouldn't be going forward. So we will constantly be looking at this and refining the budget. A few highlights in the changes here. We had a generator at the Cross Insurance Arena proposed. That is something that price has gone way out of whack, and it's not something that we see the return on investment being a responsible amount of money that we should be spending for a generator at the Cross Insurance Arena. So we've cut that. We've also cut an airlock at the Cross Insurance Arena that was to go into the Zamboni Tunnel to prevent cold air going into the bowl when the loading docks are open. We had 2 instances where we were funding daycare. One was a establishment of a county-funded daycare for county employees. One time, we were talking with the city of Portland on combining our efforts there. Nothing's really materialized on that, and we are feeling as though nothing's on the horizon either. So we're asking to remove that. And we also allocated $1 million towards enhancements of regional daycares to see whether we could provide additional capacity in daycares throughout Cumberland County, and that has not gone forward or had any inquiries, because once we put that money aside for that use, the state of Maine also did the same thing with a little bit more gusto behind it. So people are tapping the state of Maine opera funds versus the county opera funds. So we feel as though we can remove that. We do have two items that we really had to plug some money into. As we moved forward over the last 30 to 45 days, two numbers became clearer and clearer to us. The first is the work at the Communication Center up in Wyndham, and that is the next item on this agenda for the award of bid for that work. That work came in a little higher than we originally budgeted for, and so we needed to make a transfer of funds into that to make sure that project is whole and ready to go, as that is an important project for us to pursue. The second item is, as plans continue to be worked on for the jail medical facility, again, construction prices are really crazy at this point, and the more and further down the road we get on plan development and working with contractors and their subs, the better numbers we're getting, and we felt as though we were a little slight on that allocation towards the jail medical. So that number has been modified. And so those are really the changes in this document. Again, we're putting it before the commissioners just so that we have that constant track record of having legislative approval on changes done to the opera funds, and obligating 100% of the funds at all times. Thank you.
Do we have any comments or questions?
Move passage.
Is there a second? Any further questions or comments? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing none, I call the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Item carries 5-0 of the reallocation of the ARPA budget. And it is remarkable that we have had the opportunity and put to good use the in excess of $57 million for the county of Cumberland. Once-in-a-generation opportunity for our residents and the organizations that we serve. So thank you, everyone, for their contribution to that effort. Our next item is for the authorization for the Regional Communications Center improvements. And again, Manager Gailey.
Thank you. This item is being brought forth for award of bid to Geniston of Augusta, Maine. They were the successful bidder out of 4 bids. We were quite surprised that we actually received 4 bids on this project, as a lot of the contractors are very busy at this time. But we did receive 4 bids, and I would say 3 of the bids were within $20,000 of each other, so it was, I think, a very competitively priced project, with Geniston Construction being the low bidder by about $10,000. This item is for the expansion of the communications center dispatch floor, or dispatch room. This is actually coming close to what the original center was supposed to look like back when it was first built, but was later reduced due to cost overruns. We're just putting an addition onto the existing room, which will have doors going between the larger room and the smaller room, as the smaller room will have negative air in case we do have the pandemic jump out on us again, or a new pandemic. It will have additional workstations. It will be used for training, because training right now is being done within the conference room and tying up the conference room for the bulk of the time. A lot of benefits this addition is going to make, especially with the new air handler. Additionally, other projects within the existing room: new flooring, new ceiling, fresh coat of paint, new dispatch consoles. So a really A to Z refresh of the communications center, which is a fantastic opportunity through the use of ARPA funds. And so I ask the commissioners to award this bid to Geniston Construction of Augusta, Maine. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Move passage.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion.
I'm always happy to see, I'm just always happy to see more than one bid. Sometimes the solo bids are tough to approve, just because there's no real competition involved. So it's nice to see 4 firms. Seems like it's really well put out, and I think it's wise investment for an important facility, so thank you.
Sue?
So the time schedule that we were given at our board meeting back in February at the communications, are we still on that same time schedule?
I
Starting
don't
with
know what
June.
was given at that board meeting, but I can tell you the time schedule. We actually, the commissioners awarded the air handling unit a year ago.
Right.
And it's coming in this month. So it was a year process just for the air handler. That will be coming in, and that will probably be started because there's a lot of exterior work to the building for that to be installed. But the bulk of the internal work will happen in October to December, as that was when the director felt as though we get out of the summertime, it gets a little more quieter in the Lakes region, and then the towns that we service through dispatching services, and that would be the most appropriate time. Where is dispatch going to go during this time? Dispatch will go downstairs in the EMA space, and that was actually the site prior to the new building upstairs being built. Dispatch was downstairs. So there's a little bit of shifting some wires and getting the PSAP lines downstairs that we need to do, but we feel as though that would be the best versus spreading out some dispatches down in Gorham and Westbrook and other areas and trailers out in the parking lot. We can do it, but it's not the best for the employees and the supervisors. So we're opting to go downstairs in the EMA for those the period of construction. One thing, just for the people at home, the bid is, and I just screwed it up. The bid is $1,111,000. I should have said that right up front, but I wanted to make sure that that was transparent. Thank you.
And Jim, just for the public as well, there will be no disruption of services. Is that correct?
There will be no disruption of services. It's amazing what they can do in the world of dispatching today, where they can do it, how they can do it. And we will have everything up and running downstairs so that when they cut the switch, it's going to be seamless.
Excellent, very good. Commissioner Gordon?
Yeah, with this expansion, how far does that take us into the future, or is it just take care of present needs?
I think this is going to want to add additional workspaces. So if we do take on additional towns, there's the capacity there to take on additional towns. Another item that you will see in the next 45 days is a new radio system and new handhelds and mobiles for towns. And so there's a lot of review and funding going into this center that I foresee really making this a strong center for the next 15, 20 years, if not longer.
Do you envision any future expansion because of that?
I think any future expansion would be blowing out walls and going outside the current footprint. We are pretty much maximizing the internal footprint of the center today.
Commissioner Cloutier?
I'm glad to be voting for this. The ARPA opportunity to fund it is easy to accept. I do think that this is a service that is going to have a lot of pressure to expand over the next couple of periods. The process is kind of familiar at this point, where places that are trying to maintain their own existence find that they're facing technology challenges, they're facing employment and capacity challenges, and the regional opportunity looks better and better as they face all of those challenges. So we may be knocking out some walls soon enough, but this for now seems like it's a good opportunity.
Any other comments or inquiries by the commissioners? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Matter carries 5-0. Thank you. Jim. We're on to new business, and we need to go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 4056A for the consideration of the, and discussion of compensation for the chief deputy sheriff. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Regular session, and we need to put our microphones on, and we have to call in.
Do we have anything to debate? I mean, what do we got?
No, we have to vote on the salary. Live, right?
We're gonna wait to be on record, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, Jim has to calm down and get
Right.
them to come back on.
Who's on first?
Not the Red Sox.
Hey, they finished with 5-game winning streak. Hope springs eternal.
2 games out of the wild card. I can just see it now.
And the Yankees are falling apart, right?
All right, the Yankees are falling apart. We're gonna draft for, 3 more pitchers, and then we're gonna run for the World Series.
You a sports fan? Oh, certainly, yes. You fit right in with this group.
He's a Yankees fan.
No.
Yeah, well, then I know what I'm voting on.
Those words would never leave these lips. I did, I used to play, I didn't have much choice, I had to play basketball.
That or volleyball.
Yeah, I didn't have men's volleyball back in that
No.
time period, but it's a fun sport. I coached softball and baseball for years with my kids.
We're talking about Mookie Betts maybe taking the home run derby tonight
Oh, really?
on the radio.
Oh, that'd be fun to watch tonight, yeah.
You don't recall?
Yeah, he's got, what, 25 or 27 so far?
Sometimes the phones
Yeah, that
Oh,
was,
right, that's right.
can hear.
that's way up there in the Red Sox.
Yeah, how about this guy that's got 31 home runs and he pitches every 4th day?
Yeah.
What is it?
Jordy, yeah,
Ohtani.
How come we never,
he's,
is he
he's a
Soon,
phenom.
soon to be a
Babe Ruth's
Dodger.
great-great-grandson? What is going on here?
He's a phenom.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I remember when he was pulling T-Dog, I took my grandkids there, and we called him over to sign a ball. And he came right over and made a lot of the kids, and after that, it was like, no matter how good he played, or bad he played,
Yeah,
he was a good guy.
no, he was. It was a crushing blow.
It's freezing in here. Yeah, with the heat on.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, let me get Seth going.
Okay.
Seth, you awake?
I tell you, that's why I grabbed this on my way out the door.
Whenever you're ready to start it up again.
We are, have come out of executive session to review and vote on item 23065, the approval of the annual salary and paid time off for the chief deputy sheriff. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
We need a motion to come out of executive session first.
we already did that.
Did that,
Oh, you
But it
did.
wasn't on.
right, it wasn't on the
Can we
record.
do it again?
No,
Move we come. I move for the second time.
I second for the second time. Come on over here.
moved in second, all those in favor, come on.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay.
Thank you.
And for the chief deputy, Mr. Chairman, I move that the salary for the coming year be set at $105,000. This carries with it a stipend for call-ins beyond that, and the regular allocation related to health insurance, as well to specify the paid time off. We would vest the applicant with 2 weeks immediately, terminating at the end of December of this year, and then on to the regular schedule, the calendar year schedule, at 5 weeks of paid time off per year. And as a as an appointee and a non-union member of the staff would be treated as all other similarly situated individuals are on an annual basis thereafter.
Second? Moved in second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Matter carries 5-0. Thank you, Brian. Welcome again. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, who was the second on that?
I was,
And I need to have a motion to go back into executive session.
Actually,
Are we going to close out?
yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have my mic on. But why don't we close out the comments from everyone, and then we'll go into executive session, and
Okay,
then
and then we'll be
and we'll
finished.
just adjourn from there.
Very good. Manager Gailey, comment.
Thank you. Other than being extremely busy on all fronts, I really don't have anything to add. There are a few things in the works. We are getting close and offering a contract to the individuals that looked at the community corrections building. I'm about 90% there. I still have to run that contract by the sheriff, get his blessing, and then I'll share it with everyone and the applicant. Other than that, like I said, we'll be receiving a bid from radio up at the communications within the next 45 days, so that's just an extra piece that needs to go with the award that you did today. But hoping for a nice quiet summer, because it's been a very busy first 6 months of 2023. Thank you.
Alex?
Yeah, along those lines, the 22.5 budget is now in the books. We are now into the 23-24 budget year. That actually started up pretty well. So any changes related to that for employees will be showing up later on this week. And we're basically finishing up one audit and then turning right around and going into the next one as a result. But we did get the audit for the financial report out the door in time, and so we'll just turn right around for the next one.
Great work. Thank you. Amy? Commissioner Smith?
I just want to say, this evening I was really impressed with the DEI presentation. We saw the highlighted version, and I'm really proud of the county for taking that on and looking forward to see what we have in terms of action items going forward. I just think it puts us, you know, kind of as a leader among government entities to be really looking at this with some serious insensitivities and sincere efforts. So I'm excited about that. I'm sad I won't see my commissioners in August. I had no idea we have August off. That's exciting, I guess.
Well, we can meet if you want.
Okay, all right. But it's been a pleasure thus far, and I hope everyone has a wonderful August, and we'll see everybody in September, I guess. So, thank you.
Commissioner Cludier?
I was going to say nothing whatsoever, but the experience of the last month reminds me of how Galway is described to me. The rain has been incessant, constant, and continuing, and my condolences to all those who are trying to raise a garden. Other than that, I wish everybody a warm and sunny summer to come. Whether it actually ever arrives remains to be seen.
Commissioner Wojciechowski?
I would like to thank the sheriff's office with the invite for their, the awards ceremony, and also the county manager and I attended it. It was, when was it? It was in June. Yeah, so Jim got to travel out my way. I was early in the morning, and he didn't have many nice words to say about that and the traffic. It was very nice to see it, because it hadn't been done since what, Kevin? 2018 or 2000?
Yeah, approximately,
Yeah,
maybe even.
yeah. But it was a nice day, all the deputies were there and all lined up with their cruisers, and then we had the awards ceremony, and we had a nice lunch and our breakfast, and I want to thank you, Albert, for the invite, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Gordon?
Well, Jim took the quote I had out of context for me with the weather. My goodness, has been terrible. And gardens, not only vegetable gardens, but flower gardens, mold, whatever is causing an issue. As a result, kids are very damp when they come in and out of the house. It's been a great, that's been a great experience having grandchildren around. The one comment I will make is Yarmouth has a clam festival, and if anybody that's interested, please come. Have a community of a little over 8,000, and they're expecting 120. So it'll be quite an affair. Thank you.
Thank you. Very briefly, I just want to highlight one of the items that we voted on tonight was the final allocation of the $57 million in ARPA funding. We've talked about this several times before, but really has been historic and a generational shift for investment in Cumberland County. And all the current good and future good that it will do is remarkable. So I want to thank all the county managers, executive staff, commissioners, and all the staff members who have made it happen. We look forward to seeing the positive results from that investment in county government and county resources here in Cumberland County. And otherwise, I hope everyone has a great summer, and we will see you in September. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Wait, we got Kevin.
Executive session. That's right.
Motion to executive session, but you,
Leo,
Yes.
you got Kevin.
Kevin, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I was gonna give you an update on hiring.
Please do. No, please do. My bad.
No worries. So today, we had 7 corrections candidates start the Corrections Academy up in Wyndham. So right now, depending on who you ask, it's 71 and 72 vacancies from the original budgeted positions. And we have about 4 or 5 in polygraph and about 4 or 5 in medical waiting. We also have 2 individuals that apparently have been hired from out of state, but they're looking at selling their houses. So we don't know when they'll show up. One individual wanted to be here in May, but he's having a difficult time selling his house in Florida. The staff continue to do yeoman's work. We've had, in my mind, a lot of unprecedented medical issues where people have had to go out to the hospital, which creates an added burden stress on the staff. But they make it happen. I got to thank the jail command staff for coming in and making sure that the staffing is as best as it can be. They've been really attentive. I guess most of us didn't want to see a rainy 4th of July, but that kept the numbers down and people showed up for work, and I guess that was a positive side to a rainy holiday weekend. But I really want to thank the staff because they're making it happen. Secondly, on the U.S. Marshal front, and I've just got the documentation. I was at the National Sheriff's, and I sit on a committee with a sheriff from Texas. And we actually had a presentation from the director of the U.S. Marshals while we were there. And, he did his presentation, but this particular sheriff mentioned that he had a meeting earlier this year with the executive director and the director in D.C. And it was about the contract that we received early last year wanting, additional things. And apparently what happened was this sheriff basically said, we meet standards in Texas, et cetera, and, we're not going to, these surpass what even ACA requires. So you can come get your inmates and move them elsewhere. So they had a meeting, and he ended up getting a different contract than the one that was originally sent out. So I've got a copy of that, and when it comes to the contract, maybe we should deliver that particular contract instead of the one that wants us to jump through some hoops. Now, granted, the per diem is much less than what we were charging under the old rate. Not much less, but significantly. And so that might be something we want to talk about. But in looking at this contract, and I'm going to kind of compare the two, this pie-in-the-sky contract that they want, there apparently is some wiggle room because he got a different contract. So something to think about there. Lastly, we've got some great deputy sheriffs. As you know, on 4th of July, we had a shooting on the causeway. As I've told people, you really find out how old you are when you're running to the scene and some of the young guys go smoking by you, like you're walking. But everyone ran to the shots without hesitation. We were able to, we were lucky. That had nothing to do with us, but we were just lucky. But putting together a good case, getting the guy within 43 hours of the event, the criminal investigation guys did a lot of behind-the-scenes work. We made a phone call, and we had 10 people on the causeway, as we normally do, because we plan for the worst. And we had an additional 15 people-ish get activated when we called for help. And it was just like, anybody that can come, just come. And guys were getting dressed as they were driving. So I was really impressed with the staff. Not that I'm surprised, but I was very happy with their response to this particular shooting. And hopefully we can get Naples to have their fireworks display sometime before the end of the summer and make people realize it's still a safe place to be. They lost a lot of money that night because we had to shut everything down, but hopefully they'll have a second opportunity to have a great fireworks show. So that's all the comments I have.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I move we're going to executive session.
Is there a second?
But don't we have to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
No.
No.
Oh,
We'll adjourn
At
once
the
we come
end.
out of executive session.
oh, I didn't think about doing
Move in second. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
I take 2 minutes?
We are in executive session.